still remember we did a sponsorship a couple years ago, and we were giving away. It was
win ticket there. Yeah, that's right.
And we were giving away 50 win bets on his horse, and went off at 17-1.
That's right.
Everybody had a $36 cash out that day, and that's how memories are made. That was awesome. That was a great day. But yeah, you'll hear from Dan tomorrow, and he's got a couple. He's going to have one in on Sunday, and then I believe he's going to enter one of his horses in the stakes race later on. So a lot to look forward to. But we are up to race number 4 here on this Wednesday edition. It's a 12-5 claimer, and again, we talked about that trend of some heavy morning line favorites earlier on in the card. You're going to see that with Radiant Rhythm, the number 7 at 1-1 on the morning line. Again, a horse that do you go with, or is it beatable?
I couldn't get past this one just because, again, on the buyers has a little bit of an edge on this bunch. It's first off the claim, moving into the Linda Rice barn. She does very well first off the claim. It's Jose Ortiz. So this one, I think is kind of legit, and I think will be a short price and maybe come down from the even money because, again, it seems like these days bettors kind of look at the buyers quite a bit, and that attracts attention as far as the betting dollars. And given that this one has that little bit of an edge, and then you add in the other factors in the scenario, I think this one will be a short price favorite, and legitimately so with that edge. Now, all of that said, 4 starts this year and no wins, but claimed last time, drops off the claim. That's maybe a concern, but again, it's just $32,000, and you kind of figure the win, and if the horse got claimed away, you'd still wind up making a little bit of money. So I just think it's kind of a crafty move for owner trainer Linda Rice in here. I'll put Radiant Rhythm on top. Second spot, Friend of Liberty. It's the other Linda Rice horse, even money versus 2-1. So not much of an other. It's the close-up second choice on the morning line. But I think clearly second. I mean, again, sometimes you look at a race and the buyers just have an edge. This one with Radiant Rhythm is pretty clear. And so at that point, you're kind of looking for what's the edge or what direction you go, what factors are jumping out on the others. And I think once you get past the top pick, it becomes a little more open. So I tilt towards Friend of Liberty just slightly, again, on the second off the claim factor for Linda Rice. Came back from the quarantine break in one of those waiver claimers, and I think maybe got some rhythm, fitness put into this one. Should benefit from that, and also takes a little bit of a class move, probably back to the comfort zone. Kimura in the third spot, typically shows some early speed. Didn't show it last time on a sloppy track down at Belmont. I think this afternoon, leaving from the rail, I would expect this one to be sent, and with that early speed from the rail, might wind up being a little bit dangerous. That said, Tied Up Web in the fourth spot also has a little early speed, so we'll see. Maybe these two hook up and don't do each other any favors, but if one of them could pull away a little bit, then becomes dangerous as speed on the front end. I'm just, as I say, not sure that's going to happen as opposed to these two duking it out a little. In the fourth at Saratoga, I have it 7, 3, 1, and 6.
And that was exactly my thought, Seth. I thought the 1 and the 6 may end up hooking up in this race. And if that's the case, Radiant Rhythm sitting just on the outside, like you said, dropping slightly. Linda Rice, first off the claim, very good. All the things you said, probably 3 to 5 in this spot. Potential single if you wanted to use in the multis and the pick 4s, the pick 5s. So the 7 on top for me, the 3 underneath for everything that you said as well. But again, in a race like this, where you're going to have chalk, potentially, second choice right underneath, I think the 5 is quite interesting if you're a try player in here. And that's where I start to change up my philosophy. Normally I'm an exacta guy when you're just playing within the race. Now I'll change it to a try and a straight try where it's 7-3, or maybe I do a 3-7, 3-7 with the 5. The 5 is going to be a gigantic price in here. You go back and take a look at that race in January 30th of this year. I was able to get the job done, going clear impressively at 46-1. That's going to be the same type of scenario you have here. I think the race up here at Saratoga was encouraging. I was able to pick up the pieces and finish fourth. I think can improve off that effort, and at 40-1 potentially in this spot could round out the tries and make this race a profitable race for some people if you're playing within it. So 7, 3, 5, and 2 for me in the fourth.
I like it. Fifth race this afternoon, maiden $75,000 claimers. They will go 8.5 furlongs on the grass.
Yeah, you're going to have another heavy favorite with digital software going out for Chad and dropping down in this spot. But I want to take a shot here with Gunman. I think this horse is quite interesting. 6-1 on the morning line. Career debut was back in October of last year, finished third to Turn Aside, who we just saw win the Grade 3 quick call for Linda Rice. The second place finisher out of that race, Forever Poe, came back to break the maiden in a third career start out at Santa Anita, stretching out. And this horse, to me, has the ability to stretch out in here. Yes, ran 6 furlongs. Is going to have to go 2 turns for the first time. But there's a couple in here that are going to be showing some wicked speed on the stretch out in here. And this horse may be able to be sitting just off of them for Todd Pletcher, who does well with these type of layoffs and obviously dropping down into this maiden claiming rank. So for me, I think this horse will take some attention. Probably go off 9-2, 5-1 around post time. But for me, I will take a shot with Gunman in this spot at 6-1 on the morning line to 3. Digital Software, no shock in here. I think people are going to navigate to that second place effort against Grays Creek, who came back and was very impressive at Keeneland, winning that allowance race. Digital Software ended up finishing second their career debut to Grays Creek. Last time out, stretched out to a mile and 3/16 at Keeneland. Ran an even fourth that day, but it's all about the drop. If you take a look at this type of situation for Chad Brown, he's 11 for 23 with maiden special weight to maiden claiming drop downs on turf at Saratoga in the last 5 years. If you take a look at that percentage, it's 40%. So if you're looking at that stat alone, this horse, very, very tough to beat in this spot off that type of situation and when you have to use as well. So I use the 3 in the second spot and then the 1 chocolate bar off. A disappointing effort last time out. If you go back to 2 back, though, and a mile and an eighth at Churchill Downs, actually had the lead and ultimately ended up getting past in the stretch. But with the blinkers coming off in here, is one to consider as well for Mike Maker and Manny Franco. So I think this horse has the upper 7-3, 1-4 for me in the 5th.
I put the favorite top 3-7-4 and the 1 entry, but I went back and forth with that one in Gunman. And I'm going to be interested to see how much action the Maker entry takes as opposed to Gunman, because I don't think talent-wise, on paper, there's as much of a separation as the 7-5 to the 6-1 with Gunman. So I'll be interested to see what the betting public does do with the Pletcher runner. But I wound up just putting the Klarovich Chad Brown runner on top on the drop in for the tag and a little more recency than Gunman. So we'll go with that one on top. But Gunman is interesting. Bird has been off since then, now stretches out and drops off the return. I think there are some things to like, particularly if that horse comes back with some added maturity. Now, off a decent maiden special, you can also make the argument why come back for the tag. We'll see this afternoon. But again, I think Gunman is very intriguing. And then Scano, who is Sully's play of the day in the 3rd spot for me. On the numbers this horse typically fires, I think belongs with this mix. You might get a little bit of value there, again, at a 9-2 morning line that I think probably holds up given the other 3 in here, including the Maker entry that are likely to take some action. So put Scano.
And you're right with Scano, and Sully, I mean, mentioned it on the when he was talking about Scano. The fact that there are some horses stretching out from sprinting to routes, Scano may be the horse that sits the pocket in here. It's normally a horse that likes to be on the lead going 2 turns, but with the fact you're going to see some sprinters going stretching out for the first time, this may be the horse that sits the advantageous spot, and we'll get first run on Digital Software. So if you're trying to beat the favorites in here, Scano or Gunman, to me, maybe some horses that you want to use to try to beat Digital Software.
Luis Saez on board. That can't hurt either. All right. So for me, 3-7-4 and the 1 entry.
Take a look at race number 6. It's a 1 allowance race for state-bred fillies. Going to go 6 furlongs on the dirt.
7, 5, 1, and 6. Again, I put Master of the Obvious, the Engelhardt horse, on top. But again, I'm not quite sure. I don't know whether I buy into the 4-5 exactly. I think this one may be a little more contentious than that. And I'm just looking what the next price. The next price up is, 5-1 for Kinky Socks. So as I say, I don't think there's that much of a discrepancy. I think the eloquent speaker has an edge, certainly a buyer's edge, nice improving buyers, broke the maiden 2 back, tried this condition last time and stretched out and ran 3rd. Now the cutback, I think, is going to be beneficial this afternoon. So I think there's plenty of things to like. I'm just not quite sure this horse is 4-5 kind of talented as compared to the rest of this field, but belongs on top for me. Most likely winner. I'm just not sure at that short of a price. Bustin' Scones in the 2nd spot for me. 3 starts since February, and they've all been okay. A couple of seconds and a 4th last time on the move up to Saratoga. But I think that fourth is maybe better, or this horse is better than that fourth. Let me put it that way. I think this horse is more likely to be what we saw 2 and 3 starts back. She's a super freak. Finished just ahead of Bustin' Scones last time, and I think off of that third place finish on the move up to Saratoga, you have to have that one in the mix. And Kinky Socks is also a little bit intriguing, and I might have moved this horse up, and maybe it deserves to be moved up. I was just a little bit concerned about the class move. I talk about it quite a bit. I love state-bred allowance runners moving into open claiming companies. That to me is a very potent move, but then it's a negative on the way back. So even though this horse is in good form, he's making that move that she's making that move I'm a little dicey about. But I do think on the current form, you at least have to consider Kinky Socks. So for me in the 6, 7, 5, 1, and 6.
Yeah, like you said, with 4 to 5 in here, and it potentially may hold. How do you find value in this race? Elegant Speaker to me on the cutback. I thought that race last time out against Sharp Star, who was finished second in that race, was my play of the day. I think those top 2 finishers are going to go back and do and move on to do quite well in their careers. Elegant Speaker on the cutback in here draws well on the outside. You're going to see some speed to the inside, and Elegant Speaker may be able to just sit just off those horses. Very tough to beat. But the 4 to me, Fight On Lucy at 15 to 1 on the morning line. And again, I think it's going to drift up in here. You take a look at last time out, draw a line through it, did not want to go a mile and an eighth. Was coming off a little bit of a freshening as well. The lone win was going 6 furlongs. This is a horse that's going to sit a good trip in here. And again, if you're exacta player in this spot, is one of my charity bet plays in here is a 7-4 exacta. For some reason, the 4 is able to revert back to that 2-back race. The horse finished a solid second. May round out to be a $35, $40 exacta. So 7-4 for me as far as my exacta play in here. The 2 underneath, Saratoga Beauty, broke the maiden in the 3rd career try. Big question mark is the layoff. Hasn't been seen since October. But if this horse is ready to run and has been showing some good workout patterns down at Monmouth, this horse is one you want to use as well at 8 to 1. So again, in a race where you're going to see a heavy favorite, exacta and try plays for me, use the 4 at 15 to 1 and the 2 at 8 to 1 underneath.
Fight On Lucy, always fun to root for Pat Kelly. So hopefully that one does run well. In the 7th race this afternoon, State-bred maiden specials going a mile on the grass.
7, 2, 12, and 9. And this is probably the most wide open race of the day. Slight edge to Scuttlebuzz coming off that effort last time out. Wanted to run on the turf. Ultimately ended up being an off-the-turf event, going a mile and an eighth, finishing even 4th. But again, the lone turf race was 2 starts back. This horse came flying to just miss, beating a neck that day, getting a career-best 66 buyer. It's going to go out for Jonathan Shepard, who goes from dirt to turf 29%. So you like to see that angle.
Jonathan Thomas,
that's yep. It was a little cold right now, too. 0 for 11 so far. You have to believe his barn's going to wake up as well. But this horse, to me, off that lone turf try, stretching out to a mile, it should be interesting to use at 9 to 2 on the morning line. The 2 tackle, a first-time starter for Bill Mott. Take a look at that workout. This horse may be able to run first time out. Nice bullet workout, first of 65 on August 2nd. 10 to 1 on the morning line. Probably is going to attract some attention in here with some horses with some even efforts, and you want to look for some alternatives in this spot. The 2 for me is quite interesting. And then the 12, Sandro the Great, coming off a second-place effort in that off-the-turf event. But again, go back to that lone turf race at Belmont. Ran solid enough, getting a 74 buyer, which would be tops among the field. So 12 at 7 to 2. The lukewarm favorite in the 3rd spot. 7, 2, 12, and 9 for me in the 7th.
I went 11, 12, 7, and 2. The 6 is intriguing to me, perhaps, but I put the Pletcher runner on top. Pletcher Rapoli, Todd Pletcher having a typically strong Pletcher meet up here at Saratoga. Now, this one tries the turf. That's the concern. Tries 2 turns also for the first time. So there are some first-time tries in here that maybe make you scratch your head a little bit and become leery of this one. But boy, a couple of seconds and a third. So this horse has been knocking at the door. There was a sibling called Twitter Storm that won 2 of the first 3 starts of its career on the Woodbine synthetic. So again, it's not turf, but has shown a little bit of ability on the synthetic, has a sibling. So we'll hope this one does move successfully over to the turf. And again, in the recent good form from the barn that's in good form right now. Micro second, the number 11 on top. Sandro the Great in the 2nd spot. The turf number tossed 2 starts back was solid versus this group. And an off the turfer showed some good form last time. So again, just in good form, has tossed in a good try on the turf that I think bodes well for this afternoon. And then Scuttlebuzz, again, I can't disagree with what Mike said, particularly if you look back at that race 2 back, belongs in the mix as well. And then Tackle, the fresh face in here from Bill Mott, could be a player as well. So I have an 11, 12, 7, and 2. We will take a break. And when we come back, we will complete our look at Saratoga for Wednesday afternoon. Please stay tuned.
I think we're ahead of the game, aren't we?
Yeah. How's business been down at the clubhouse?
Good. It's been good. Traverse Day, we were up a lot. I mean, again, it's tough because Traverse Day numbers were different this year because it's not the same day. Yeah. We took the comparison of the actual Traverse Day last year and compared it to what this Traverse Day was this year, and it was about flat.
These guys took a hit.
Did they really?
Comparing it Traverse to Traverse.
Oh, right, because I mean it's more of a festival up here, not really.
I mean, you're taking $7 million of on-track handle out of the.
So since we have time, we can.
Oh, also hit on promos, right?
Yeah, we got it in promos.
Yeah. Oh, it's you.
Okay. Welcome back to the Handicappers Report again on this Wednesday morning. The sun is shining. I mean, I know there was a front that came through yesterday. Man, was it hot yesterday? It was probably 95 or hotter. I mean, I was glad that Handicappers Report was today and not yesterday. I'm not sure I would have survived, but the weather right now is great. They said the humidity is going to drop, and it looks like it's going to be rain-free for the next couple days. So we are scheduled to be on the turf right now. We're up to race number 8 as we take a look at this 1 allowance race. Going to go 1 1/8 on the dirt. What were your thoughts here, Seth?
I've got 7, 4, 5, and 6. Candy Tycoon. They tried a couple of stakes in the last 3 starts. Those were not so productive, but they bookended an optional claimer that was pretty good. And 4 starts back, ran a decent second in the Fountain of Youth behind Ete Indian. So I think this horse has some talent, just hasn't lived up to it in those 2 stakes drives, in the last 3 starts, but moves back into the more proper allowance non-winners of 1 other than Company. So I think this one, and again, Pletcher's going so well at the meet. I think this horse can get back to a better performance, closer to what we saw 2 starts back, 4 starts back, 5 starts back in the maiden breaker. I'll put Candy Tycoon on top. Little Commissioner in the second spot. Nice win down at Belmont last time, but did it against $20,000 claimers. So again, it's a class move that makes me question a little bit what we'll see today. But certainly the buyers this horse typically fires belong nicely with this group. And then Unrighteous. It is the other Todd Pletcher runner. 10-1 on the morning line. Luis Saez in the saddle off a poor performance in the Ohio Derby. But the maiden breaker and the off the turfer just before that was pretty good. There's another race, the second start of the career, that was pretty good. They've tried, like the top pick, the Pletcher pick, they've tried Stakes Company a couple times, not successfully, but outside of the stakes has been pretty much right in the mix. Blinkers off today, so a little equipment change that may wake this horse up as well. I mean, you get that 10-1 price. You certainly got to take an extra look at Unrighteous from the barn that's going very well right now. In race number 8 at Saratoga, 7, 4, 5, and 6.
I wanted to take a shot here with the 6 in here. 6, 2, 4, and 7. The 6 Hunt to Front coming off of a poor effort in the Bluegrass against Art Collector and Skydiver. But if you go back to a couple of the races, it's actually faced some good competition, including beating Dean Martini, who went on to win a stakes race at Thistle. But Hunt to Front, the only horse in here that's won at 1 1/8, is a stone cold closer in here. So the more speed, the better. But I think you're going to get it. The 3 wants to go, the 4 wants to go, and the 8 wants to go. And the fact that everybody in here is not tested at 1 1/8, I'm hoping we get a good price. 8-1 on the morning line. Hopefully that holds with Joey Rosario aboard. He was aboard for the lone victory for Hunt to Front. So I'm going to use as my top choice. The 2, 9-2 on the morning line for Bill Mott. You touched upon a little bit as well. Buyers wise fits well off those 71 buyers. First time out and second career start. In the Remsen,
I took a long look at the 2, who may come back as an improved 3-year-old. The last 2 workouts for that one are pretty good too.
Absolutely. Interesting to see the last workout was on turf. So maybe they have some plans going forward with the 2. But nonetheless, a horse that's coming off a layoff, hasn't been seen since December, excuse me. But this horse, the workout pattern's been sharp, and this one's gone the routing distance before. And you like to see that this horse has gone a mile and 16th out of Belmont and got the job done. So the 2 underneath. And then the 4 Little Commissioners stepping up, a horse in tremendous form. And again, that's what you kind of go back to, Seth. You have some horses that ran poor efforts and much deeper situations, or horses in lighter situations that are stepping up in here in very good form. And that's sort of the clash that you're going to see in here. The 4 to me is quite interesting. It's going to attract some attention with the red getting aboard in here at 5-2 on the morning. I just thought was beatable in this spot with the class edge to a couple others in here. But nonetheless, a pretty wide open race. So 6-2, 4, and 7 for me in the 8th.
Today's feature, nice little grade 2 event. It is the Adirondack with $150,000 up for grabs for the 2-year-old fillies, going 6.5 furlongs. Field of a half a dozen, but this is a nice looking field.
Yeah, 4, 5, 6, and 2. The 4 thoughtfully, Steve Asserson, Ricardo Santana Jr. are going to team up, obviously. They're a patented duo in here. This horse, first time out, very impressive, winning by 8 3/4. Now, I did go back and take a look at that field and see what they've done since. I'm not really sure what thoughtfully beat in that field, but she did it very impressively, winning by 8 3/4, because there were 4 horses out of that race to come back and race. None of them were able to break their maiden, but that doesn't mean thoughtfully can't run, because she was very impressive in that race. The workout sense was very strong, and tactically she's going to be sitting just off of the other favorite in here, Make Mischief. So the 4 is going to be very tough to beat. And the fact that the horse is a Tapit, I think wants to go longer. So I know it's going 6.5 today, but you may actually see this horse going 2 turns down the road. But thoughtfully is going to be my top choice. The 5, Lucifer Lair, has the recency up here at Saratoga, breaking the maiden, now steps up into graded stakes company. Very impressive, getting the job done by 3 lengths. Another one that can sit off and rate in this type of situation. You like to see that, especially first time out. So for 3-1 on the morning line, for me, the 5 is going to be my second choice. And then the 6, Beautiful Farewell. Horse that's yet to break the maiden, but has 2 sneaky good races, including up here at Saratoga, where the horse didn't get much of a chance to run, finishing 5th, only beating 2.5. But at 8-1, I think you're going to get a better price than that. And you may see some horses a little leg weary down the stretch. So this horse may be able to round out the tries in here. The 6 for me in the 3rd spot. 4, 5, 6, and 2 in the 9th.
I put Lucifer's Lair on top, 5, 2, 4, and 3. Maiden breaker up here at Saratoga. Now, the buyer, and I'm a buyer's guy, the buyer's a little light, certainly compared to Make Mischief, but also behind thoughtfully. But a lot of times horses can make that big jump buyer-wise from start number 1 to start number 2. Todd Pletcher's going very well. 1 off by 3 lengths. So how fast did he have to go, or did she have to go? 1 by daylight as it was. So how good could that a buyer have been? We'll find out more about that this afternoon, I would think. But I think Lucifer's Lair might be interesting in here. And again, with the buyer being a little bit light, I think you will get a little bit of value, as much as you can get with a Pletcher horse in a 6-horse field. But thoughtfully and Make Mischief, I think we're going to take some action. Make Mischief, I put in the 2nd spot. I could have gone either way. I could have gone either way with the with the top 3. I could have juggled them all around and made similar arguments. But comes off a 2nd in the Schuylerville last time, so already has stakes experience and good stakes experience right here at Saratoga. And then, thoughtfully off the career debut victory is perfectly logical for Steve Asmussen. As Mike said, a little bit of breeding. They paid a lot of money for this horse last year up here at Saratoga at the yearling sale and lived up to it in the career debut, working well since. So I have no argument with thoughtfully either. As I say, I could have flip-flopped any of the top 3 around and wound up having equal confidence in my selections, but I wound up in the Adirondack 5, 2, 4, and 3.
Take a look at the finale now in race number 10. It's a maiden claimer for state-bred filly. He's going to go 6.5 on the dirt. Probably a race if you're playing the multi. You probably have to spread here in this race.
I have it 6, 9, 10, and 8. I put Deeply Analytical on top. It's a Klarovich runner moving out of the Chad Brown barn after a debut up here last year in August. Hasn't been seen since that one, but moves into the George Abreu barn and comes back for a $25,000 tag. I think it is Klarovich. They paid $270,000 and now go for 25, but it just seems like Seth Klarman is realistic about his horses, and that may just be the case here. They looked, saw what they had, and off the layoff, they're just kind of putting this horse in the comfort zone where it belongs in the new barn. So I'll put Deeply Analytical on top with the clear question marks that you have to recognize. Mia Be a Star, I assume. I assume the middle B is more Bia to get the alliteration there. Mia Be a Star for Dave Donk, moving maiden special weight, state bred maiden special weight to state bred claimer. But again, I think it's a potent move, particularly given the speed shown last time. Does go turf to dirt and cuts back to a sprint. Those are a couple of question marks that have to be answered, but maybe the class move mitigates those a little bit. And then Love Me Tomorrow in the third spot. Kind of been bouncing back and forth between turf and dirt. I think has run well on both surfaces, has some nice early positional speed from the outside, has a good attack post to use that speed a little bit and find a good position, plus a little bit of a dose of class relief as well. So Love Me Tomorrow in the mix also. In the 10th and final at Saratoga for me, 6, 9, 10, and 8.
I took a little bit of shot with aggravation, the 7 in here, 7, 8, 6, and 9, 6-1 on the morning line for Mark Henning. This horse career debut was back in May of last year. Actually faced a salty group that day when the horse finished 6th, but took some money that day. Then wasn't seen until July 4th of this year, so a year-plus layoff. Dropped in for a tag, finished an even 4th. I think can improve off that effort, second off the layoff in this type of situation for Mark Hennings, 27%. So on the fact that this horse needed a little fitness last time out, may be able to improve up here at Saratoga. I used the 7 on top. Underneath the 8, Gringotts, a horse that broke terrible last race, was dead last, was able to pass some tired rivals late to finish 6th that day. But again, with a better break in here, the fact that this horse is going to go 3rd off the freshening, I used the 8 with Joao Rosario aboard. And then the 6, your top choice, Deeply Analytical. I think can improve off that. And the fact that this horse is going to be on the front end in here where you don't see a lot of speed in here. You like to see that in these type of situations. It's going to be very dangerous on the lead with Tyler Gaffney on board. It's 7, 8, 6, and 9 for me in the finale.
Very good. So that wraps up our look at Saratoga for Wednesday afternoon. Again, kicking off week 5, day 20. We've reached the halfway point. Don't forget, if you didn't get a chance to write down our selections, you can always go to capitalotb.com. Click on the Handicappers Report link, and there's a nice printable sheet there that you can sit next to your computer or take down to the clubhouse if you want to with you, although they're available at the clubhouse now that I think about it. You don't even have to waste your ink if you go to the clubhouse. They're usually typically right there.
And as well. We were able to email them and fax them to our branches as well, so they should have the one sheet as well.
So if you're going to one of the branches of the clubhouse, they're there for you. But if you're at home, you can print it up, set it next to your computer, and our selections are there throughout the day. That is one of the benefits of playing with OTB. Tell us some of the other ones, Mike.
Let me tell you the long list that we have. Obviously, nighttime thoroughbred in August, and that's the big advantage right now. Every night in August, we're able to take nighttime thoroughbreds to take advantage of that. Great racing during the day, great racing at night. We've had, Colonial Downs has been running, Penn National. Obviously, the late cards with Delamar, but each and every day, take advantage of that. Also, our sign-up bonus, where you can deposit $200, wager $400, and get $200 back. And it's as simple as that. There's no situation or underlying meaning. It's as straightforward as it is. And that's what we like here at Capital OTB. So take advantage of that new member sign-up bonus where you deposit $200, wager $400, and get $200 back. And that's all through August. Also promos that we're doing. And you've kind of been following along if you've been following OTB TV with the rotation that we have today. Wednesday is the double promo down at the clubhouse. 7-Eleven, Central Ave in Albany will have a knockout challenge. We'll also have our match bet promotion to go along with it. Tomorrow we'll have an online knockout challenge. So if you're not able to make it down to the clubhouse today, you can obviously take advantage of the knockout challenge tomorrow. I'll also have the $100 late pick 4 bankroll, and signups are still available for that. So you can go to capitalotb.com and sign up for the late pick 4 and try to be part of that bankroll team. And then on Friday, the bounty bet, which this is the reason why we promote the bounty bet. It was hit last week. We're going to restart it on Friday. It'll be at $500. Congratulations to that one patron. And again, you just never know how many people you're playing against and how many people actually had that winning ticket. So I have to believe that person thought he was going to share it with a couple people. Yeah. And then when he saw the additional $675 in his account, he was like, bingo. So take advantage of the bounty bet sponsored by CapitolTVBet.com and take advantage of that on Fridays, each and every Friday at Saratoga. Also, we're going to have the track bonus as well. And you can take advantage of that by being one of the top 50 account holders through Capital OTB. Wager through your Capital OTB account. Be one of the top 50 and get a $10 deposit. Again, if you're one of those top 50 account holders. And then this Friday is going to be a special on the road OTB live bankroll because we're going to be at Prime at Saratoga National this Friday from 1 to 6 and take advantage of that. And again, you want to be at these bankrolls and you want to be part of the bankroll team by having a Capital OTB account. And I know that reservations, so you may want to call today to see if you can get a reservation at Prime, as I know they're filling up fast, but take advantage of that. And you'll also be able to watch the segments that we have on Friday for the Prime at Saratoga National Bankroll. So take advantage of that on Friday. Saturday, we had the Syndicate. Syndicate team hit last week as well for 307. It wasn't as big as the 4,600, but still they were able to have some fun with it and win 307. And we're actually already full for the Syndicate signups. But you can take advantage of that each and every week. Signups begin every Sunday and take advantage of that as it's a great promo. And then also we're going to have on Sunday another double promo down at the clubhouse, $100 win a bet and match bet to go along with it. That's how good my memory is. I was able to do that without looking at a paper.
Very impressive. Very impressive. Yeah, the Syndicate's fun. Just for folks who aren't familiar with that promo, I've been telling people about it, and everybody's like, "Oh, that sounds good." For $25, you get in on a $750 pick five.
And one guy
ticket.
actually emailed me back. He's like, "Yes, it paid 307. We each put in, and don't forget, OTB puts in 250.
Yeah,
but you put in 25. They ended up getting $15 back. They were like, "Listen, we took our shots. It was great. We had coverage all around. We took our shots. Yes, we didn't win, but we still got back 15. We only lost $10." And a lot of them keep on re-signing back up. So that's why you're seeing it.
And the week before, the team hit for 45.
4,600. And everybody got $230 a piece. So take advantage of that. Again, each Sunday is when we start the new sign-up portion of it. And it fills up fast. So definitely take advantage of it on Sunday.
Also, I don't know if they updated our Diamond Club bankroll that we were on all afternoon, but we were still alive with tickets as we signed off and came over here for the Travers last Saturday. We wound up with just under $700, $698, I think it was.
Terrific job by you.
So everybody on the team, we hit the late pick 5, which was very nice. Got the DQ knocked us out of the Empire, but we had the horse underneath that got moved up in the pick 5, so it wound up to be, I think with the odds, probably about a wash, but everybody wound up with a little chunk of change.
I was going to say, divide that by 25. That's a good amount of money. Then you know, the bounty bet, we're giving away huge chunks. The Syndicate, we're giving away huge chunks. So that's why you really want to sign up for an account right now, because we're giving away a lot of money during Saratoga. And we're happy to, because, you know, this is what it's all about. So.
And we'd love to have you join us at Prime on Friday, but do call ahead, because I know Prime, they've been busy throughout the meet. So make sure, I think all of their tables are reserved anyway, so you'd have to call to reserve a table, as it were, but just call ahead and make sure there are some availabilities or not, as it were. But we'd love to have you out there. And if you can't be there, watch us all afternoon here on the network. All right, Mike, time to wrap it up. But
good luck to you. Good luck to everybody as well. And I will see you, if I don't see you, I'll see you next Wednesday. So.
Sounds good. All right, we'll wrap it up. We'll come back in just a couple for Racing Across America on this Wednesday. Stay tuned.
Your first segment is a hit piece, right?
Yeah.
That helps. Helps with the transition. Yeah, Contessa's been getting a lot of interviews, so hopefully it'll help you. You don't have to. You can use one a day or something, maybe.
Well, if he's doing 4 a week, you got to use one a day.
That's what the plan was, to use one for Brian and one for you each.
I thought it was 2 or 3 for some reason, and Brian said the other day, no, he's doing 4. And I looked at the original email, and it was 4.
Yeah, it was 4. Yeah.
So that is 1.
I mean, it was all to help you guys.
Yeah.
Because I know it's going to be tough. Even though, are people really receptive to, like, when you reach out to them, or not really?
It depends. Most of them, I would say most of them are, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, it depends. Sometimes, or sometimes it's just I can't do it now. But like
Right, keep me in mind
like Jeremiah Engelhardt, that's one thing with 2 of my days. Fridays and Sundays are turf works, so it's hard to get trainers. So I was going to get Jeremiah on a Friday. I saw him a Thursday afternoon over there. I said, "Can he come over tomorrow?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." I said, "Just let me remind you, turf works tomorrow." I was like, "Oh yeah, I got a horse working, so get me some other day." So that you run into that kind of stuff every once in a while, where somebody's like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I just can't do it." And yeah, Fridays and Sundays are tough for trainers. Jockeys are kind of in the bubble.
Well, yeah. The problem is all these jockeys keep coming down with it.
Yeah.
They're going to live in isolation.
Yeah.
It's weird, though, that Trevor McCarthy. Delmar was able to get back and recover real quick with all their guys.
Am I here? Yeah. Good morning. Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Racing Across America. I'm Seth Merrill. Thanks for joining us live from our Saratoga set. You know, I meant to say when Mike was in here, and I didn't. Somebody asked me the other day. No, we aren't. His chair is like I have my arm out here, and I'm still 4 feet away from his chair. The two box makes it look like we're kind of right next to each other, but we are socially distanced here on the set. And I thought when somebody asked me that the other day, I thought, maybe we should remind people of that. Everyone, if you watch the show the first couple of days, we were using the two shot, but we were kind of both hanging off the side of the screen. We're so far apart. But then we had technologically, we moved us a little bit closer, but only technologically. And in physical distance, we are socially distanced here on the set. You don't have to worry about that. All right, there we go. And Mike's chair is, you can't even see his chair on in that shot. It's so far over. Today on the show, we'll be joined a little bit later on by Tom Law. It's our typical Wednesday visit from Tom Law from the Saratoga Special. He'll also give you some thoughts on the two steeplechases, the one coming up today and the one tomorrow. A little bit later on, I thought, you know what? We haven't talked to Ken Weingartner in a while from the USTA, United States Trotting Association. But last Saturday was the Hambo, the Hambletonian. So I thought, hey, let's recap the Hambletonian with Ken and also kind of catch up on where the harness game has been over the past few months and where we're going the rest of the year. So Ken Weingartner from the USTA will join us via Zoom a little bit later on as well. But top of the show, again, I think we've aired one, maybe two of the Gary Contessa interviews. And Gary's doing some work for us this summer, going out and about to interview some racing personalities. And happy to have him on board to do that. And this latest interview, he caught up with Richard Migliori, the Mig, and got some background from him. So let's fire it up right now. Gary Contessa and Richard Migliori.
Tell us a little bit about.
Well, it is a very tough transition, but I was very fortunate. I hooked on with Steve DeMauro, Sr., who put me under contract when I was 14 years old. And they really groomed me to be a rider. And by the time I was 16, I was probably ready to ride for 6 months already. And they started me, and I had an exceptional apprentice year in 1981, was leading rider in New York for the year as an apprentice, which, you know, you think about, it wasn't that far removed from when I was galloping versus watching guys like Angel Cordero, George Velasquez, and now I'm competing with them. It's had a wonderful bug year. Actually lost my apprentice allowance when I was in Tokyo, Japan, to ride the very first Japan Cup. I finished third on the very one. came back to New York, and things kind of kept rolling along. The original plan was for me to stay in New York for the winter. And then Steve wanted me to come to Florida to ride the horses. So I went to Florida and wound up hitting that post-apprentice slump that everybody talks about. You know, a lot of people that ride you because you do get the incentive of 5 pounds off. Well, suddenly, you know, you don't have as much experience as some of the guys. And you think about the jockeys room back then, Gary, as you know, Angel Cordero, George Velasquez, Jacinto Vasquez, Eddie Maple. I mean, just one Hall of Famer after another. I wound up buying my contract in April of '82. So that kind of also spiraled. Now I lost the support of that main stable. Felt like I needed to kind of freelance, so get out on my own. For 2 years, 82 and 83 were slow. 83 was slow, 82. I think what happens too is a lot of guys don't hang in there. And it was maybe a little bit easier for me to hang in there because I'm from New York. I wasn't like, you know, a lot of guys come here from other places, and if they're not doing good, they get homesick and they go, well, I'll just go home. I was home. So I was going to dig in, and I toyed with the idea of going to a couple of different places to try to kickstart my career. But at the end of the day, I was home, and I kept seeing light at the end of the tunnel. I was working. I'm a true believer in you have to look at the man in the mirror. And what was I doing to create that success, or what wasn't I doing that I should be doing to create that success? And I just started hitting the barn area, 5:30 every morning, and I decided I don't know when I'm going to get the opportunity, but I'm going to do everything I can to make it happen, and I'm going to be ready for the opportunity when it comes. And that's really all you can do. You can't make someone ride you, but when you get that shot, you got to make the most of it. And 84, I started picking up, and middle of 84, had a pretty good Saratoga. Mark Casse was training in New York then. I was riding all his horses, and a horse named Wild Again came open in the Meadowlands Cup. He needed a rider. It was grade 1 on Labor Day. And that was when we used to be out of here by Labor Day, out of Saratoga. And my agent called Vincent Symphony, the trainer of Wild Again. And he said, this kid's riding good. You might want to keep an eye on him. He says, well, I'll watch him ride today. Does he have many mounts today? I think I was on 4 or 5 horses. Well, I won 3 that day and the stake. I won the Boojum on a horse named Tarrant Tara for Pete Ferriola. And I won 3. He called up my agent and says, he can ride Wild Again. I have to ride the first race for Mark Casse, a good filly named Kamikaze Rick. She won off the screen.
Remember her well.
Yeah, good, very fast filly.
Yes.
Jumped in the helicopter, go over the Meadowlands. He goes wire to wire, win a $500,000 grade 1 first race. And that's what kind of uplifted me. And I was leading rider in 81, and then 85, I was leading rider again as a journeyman. So it was a big deal. But again, I think what happens is a lot of guys don't hang in there through that tough part. And maybe in some respects it was easier for me because, again, I was home.
Right. And, many jockeys over the years have come to me and said, Gary, I'm going to lose my bug. What do you suggest? And so many of them, when they lose the bug, they think they need to go to Parks or Penn National or Laurel and restart as a journeyman. In my opinion, that hurts you because those people didn't have that luxury of you being a bug. They don't know anything about you. And now suddenly you're going to launch a journeyman career in another track. I think that's probably the common denominator to failure is to leave where you made your bones and where you made your roots.
And it's just so hard to get back to you're in New York. That's where you want to be. New York or California at that time were the 2 places that basically were the major league circuits. If you leave, how do you get back? And that was something that I always thought about. If I leave, though, how am I going to get back here? And I just decided I was going to dig in and work, and so paid off.
Amazing. Wild Again, great racehorse, went on to a good stud career. Yeah. Also made Richard Migliori, which even I didn't know. Because let's face it, you win your first grade 1, people notice. People notice you on what you do in this game. Nobody knows who ran second in the Kentucky Derby because people only take note of who won. And so that horse made your journeyman career, at least jump-started it. And now your career is starting to really pick up. Tell us some of your your most memorable moments as a journeyman? I know there's been many, and there's been many in my team, even my horses, but tell me your most memorable times.
Well, it's interesting because Wild Again really did put me in a different light in trainers' eyes. And I started picking up some really nice horses. I picked up a horse named Win, first New York bred to ever earn $1 million. And Paul Kornman, who owned him, saw me win the Meadowlands Cup, and he formulated this idea that I'd be a good fit for Win. So I won the Man o' War on him, beat Cozine right here in Saratoga in the Bernard Baruch. Picked up a horse late in the winter at Aqueduct named Eternal Prince. Now you gotta understand, I grew up in Brooklyn, about 12 miles from Aqueduct. My whole life going to the track with my father, I would go to that win picture wall, the Wood Memorial win pictures, since I'm a little kid, and just study them, and I could tell you all the winners and the great riders. So I pick up this horse, Eternal Prince. He wins the Gotham. He wins the Wood Memorial. And I'm 20 years old now. I just won the Wood Memorial. And I'm walking in the winner's circle, and it struck me that I was going to be on that wall that I stared at since I'm 8 years old. And I actually got emotional about it because it was like a big deal. I'm a New York guy. The Wood Memorial is a big deal, especially then. It was grade one. So those are the kind of memories that stand out to me. Things that happened that had more meaning to me because of being a native New Yorker.
Right. I never passed that wall without studying it. And at Belmont, the Belmont wall, I find it amazing. The people that are in the pictures, the people that are, gravitate to those races. And it was just an amazing thing. And I've done the same thing as you. Study those pictures because it's just an incredible thing. Well,
it's part of our history. And I really believe that if we don't embrace our history, we're not going to make our future as good as it can be. Our game is so great. And a lot of it is because of the history of it. You feel it in Saratoga. It's easy to feel it here. Racing Museum and Hall of Fame across the street, this incredible facility. I used to come here a lot in the off season and feel the ghost of Racing Pass. It's we're really fortunate. I think anybody that's been a lifelong racetracker like us, you're a bit of a romantic. So you embrace these kind of historical ideals, if you will.
We do. And getting back to Win, was that Sally Bailey?
It was Sally Bailey.
And that was an amazing situation because back then we didn't have very many women in this game.
No.
And Sally Bailey brought that horse, won a ton of stake races, and amazingly with you.
And what was interesting too, though, is she was very fair, and she sold half the horse to Paul Kornman. He had controlling interest, but she still trained him. And Tony Grail had been riding the horse. And as a 2-year-old, he was a rogue. I mean, really bad active, very bad in the gate. He was always kind of bad in the gate, but nobody really wanted to ride him. And then he hit the turf and he started running these lights out races. He ran second to John Henry. And Paul Kornman wanted to put me on the horse. And Sally, and rightfully so, said, wait, this guy's been riding the horse when no one wanted to ride him. Now he's a good horse. Now you want to, and she didn't want to change. And basically, Paul held her feet to the fire. And now I've got to go out and work the horse, and she's not happy. I mean, she won't even hardly talk to me. And then I go to ride him the first time, and it was an allowance race, 1 3/8 on the grass, coming off a layup because she was incredible that way. She could get a horse ready off a long layup.
I remember. She was.
And she said to me, don't make too much use of my horse. You win by as little as possible. So now you're riding a horse that's 1 to 9 in an allowance race, right? And you got to measure it. And he was a tricky horse because he'd pull up. So you couldn't be overconfident because he put his toes in the ground. And I wound up winning by a length. And believe me, my stomach was in knots, right? But he won easy by a length. Came up here, won the Bernard Baruch. And I was fighting for leading rider that meet here. And I shut Robbie Davis off. And I did it on purpose. And I deserved the days. He tried to come through a spot and I slammed the gate. And so that morning, everybody's like, you got to appeal. You can't take your days. You and Angel are fighting for leading rider. And I go by Sally's barn, big mistake. And she said, I saw what you did yesterday. You're going to get days. She said, if you appeal those days and can't ride this horse in the fall, you'll never ride him again. So now I go to the stewards and they say, well, we got to give you days. And that's weighing on me. My agent said, we're a little light the last week. I talked to Ron Turcotte that morning, who I idolized. Joe Shea had been my first agent, had been Ron's agent his whole career. And he said, well, do you deserve the days? And I said, yeah. He goes, so what's the question? You got to take them. So I have all this. And the steward said, okay, you're going to appeal, right? And they handed me the paper to sign. I said, no, I'm taking them. And they were in shock. And we were tied 14 winners apiece when it was a 24-day meet with 6 racing days left. I go out that afternoon. I win 4. Angel gets shut out. I'm winning 18-14 with 5 racing days left. And I can't ride because I can't now appeal. He beat me 1 winner.
That's unbelievable. Yeah. And there was another year where you almost beat Angel Cordero as well, and you got sidelined with an injury.
That was as an apprentice. I'd have been the only apprentice to win up here. And I got hurt. It was an interesting circumstance. It was the last Saturday, so we got Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I'm on 8 races Saturday, Gary. And I said, my worst mount is the first race. That horse wins and pays 60 some odd dollars. So now we're tied, me and Angel, like 20 wins apiece. The second race, George Velasquez fell. And before Dawn was the favorite in the spinaway for Calumet. And Georgie went to the hospital, and John Beach comes in and he goes, put the kid on the horse. I just picked up Before Dawn in the spinaway, as an apprentice, a grade 1. I go out in the third race on Creme de la Fête, crashed at the top of the stretch, woke up in the hospital a couple hours later. What happened? Don't know where I am. And 5 of the horses I was named on, including Before Dawn, won over the next couple of days while I was in Saratoga Hospital. Angel eked me out by 1.
Unbelievable. And you say Creme de la Fête. I trained Creme de la Fête. Frank Martin trained Creme de la Fête. Yeah. He won. He's one of the most amazing horses ever. He won races for 11 different trainers.
It's Cannon Royal between horses. Here comes Spy Game. 4 of them across the track. Spy Game now takes the lead. Storm Warrior and Creme de la Fête on the far outside. Creme de la Fête gains lead.
I won 16 races on that horse.
Wow.
From the time I was an apprentice through my journey, he was something else.
That horse outlasted a lot of people in this game.
So
he was amazing. One thing, I know that your career came to an end because of injuries, and I don't think our audience understands what a dangerous business this can be. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Well, yeah. I mean, one thing you accept as a rider, and it is a dangerous game. It's not if you're going to get hurt. It's when and how bad. And my first really bad injury, like jockeys break collarbones, it's not even a big deal. You're out a month and you get back on the horse. But my first real bad injury, I broke my neck the first time in 1988, which they actually did a Rescue 911 episode on. You can go to YouTube and put in Iron Jockey, and that whole thing comes up.
In horse racing, the stakes are so high, you often have to dare to risk it all, to dare to be great. On May 30th, 1988, 9 races were scheduled at Belmont Park Raceway in New York, featuring top jockeys from around the country.
And they really didn't think I was ever going to walk again. And I spent a month and a half in LIJ, Long Island Jewish Hospital, and then a month and a half at a rehabilitation hospital learning to walk again, and then rode 3.5 months after that and got back right in it. When you're young, you think you're indestructible. You're like, well, it didn't faze me really. And then flash forward, notably snapped my forearm at Belmont. I went down, the horse stepped on me. And I had 3 surgeries, still have 2 plates, 16 screws in my arm. But then the one that ended my career, I broke my neck again. And because I had the surgery previous and it was all fused, the x-rays were misread because I split right down the fusion, the middle of the fusion. I actually went back to riding. And I was in agony. And the last day I rode, I had 5 mounts. I won with 4 of them. Couldn't drive myself home. My son had to drive me home. My wife took me to Mount Sinai Hospital that Monday. We got an appointment with Andrew Hecht, spinal specialist. And he did all the images, and he works with the NFL and the NHL, and come in my office. He goes, I see what's wrong with you. I got a pinched nerve, right? He goes, no, you got 8 broken vertebrae. He says, you got 6 in your neck, 2 in your back. And I'm stunned. My wife starts crying. I said, well, Doc, I've been riding like this. I ride a really good filly Saturday in Chicago named Life at 10. I just won that affectionately on her. She's easy to ride. You put her on the lead. I'll go ride her, and then I'll come back and check in. You can do the surgery. You're not leaving here today. He says, this thing's going to go. It's going to go like a light switch. He goes, your body's telling you everything's breaking down. You're going to be a quadriplegic. They put me in a collar, put me in a wheelchair, wheeled me across to the hospital section, checked me in, had the surgery 3 days later, and that was the career.
Wow.
No big surprise why we're here. My career as a jockey is over, not by choice. In the doctor's office, Dr. Heck's office on Wednesday of last week, he assured me that I would never ride another thoroughbred again.
You rebounded once again, and you're a personality working for Fox, working for Naira, handicapper. I mean, jack of all trades. I see you at the Fasig-Tipton sales. I mean, we really appreciate having you on that team.
Well, I appreciate that. And listen, I'm blessed. I've gotten great opportunities. The day I went to Belmont and announced my retirement, it kind of really hit me in the face, because from the time you're 12, you're dreaming of doing something and working towards it. By the time you're 16, you're doing it. Now you're 44 and it's over. And it really hit me like, who am I now? And obviously most important roles in life, father, husband. But when you've done this your entire adult life, I really kind of had that thought, who am I now? I don't even know who I am anymore. And I got home and I was feeling pretty down about it. And before I left the track, Charlie Haywood grabbed me and said, you really spoke very well up there. And I didn't have notes. I just talked from the heart. He says, when you feel better, call me. He says, I want you on our team. So that was already one positive reinforcement. I get home, Amy Zimmerman calls me from HRTV. We think you'd be good on TV. I'm like, why? I don't know why. And they wound up hiring me, and I went to work for HRTV, and then I went to work for Naira, and I was able to do both. And again, just wonderful opportunities. And one thing about me, and you're very similar. We love this game. We're passionate about it. And I think if you bring that passion, whatever you do, it's going to shine through.
I agree. And I really appreciate you bringing that passion to this interview, because this has been great. And it's nice to get a little insight into your life. And we jammed about 30 years of Richard Migliori into the last 15 minutes. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Gary.
Gary Contessa with Capital OTB with Richard Migliori. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.
No track, no problem. There's no better place to follow the Saratoga race meet than Capital OTB and OTB TV. With our live TV shows from the Saratoga backstretch and opening here, the one shot. Okay. Every day of the Saratoga meet, we talk with all the top trainers, jockeys, handicappers, and racing personalities. So stay with Capital OTB and OTB TV this racing season and win more. Don't fall off the stage. Here we come. Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Wednesday morning. Thanks for our man Gary Contessa and Richard Migliori, and our real man Mick Richards in the control room, or in the studio control room. He was out there doing the socially distanced shooting and edited piece together as well. So a nice profile of our buddy Richard Migliori. But our buddy Tom Law now joins us live, as he does every Wednesday. Talk a little steeplechase and more. Tom, good morning.
Morning, Seth. How are you today?
Very good. Happy to have you on board to, as I say, talk a little bit about maybe the past weekend, but also look at the jump races that are coming up today and tomorrow. And when you sat down, we were kind of talking a little bit about the Saratoga special and number of issues you put out and whatnot. And again, we'll remind people again, digital version only Wednesdays and Saturdays. That means a new edition out this morning. By 9, if you're a Beatles fan.
Absolutely.
And
so it's rolling right along. I feel like somebody said to me today, you're kind of going downhill now. And I said, well, there's still a long ways to go. I mean, obviously we're halfway after, but good issue today. We recapped all the Travers weekend stuff. Didn't take a huge look ahead, unfortunately. We kind of missed a little bit there. But such a big weekend last weekend. We needed to sort of recap it properly. And we caught up with a lot of the connections sort of after the races. It's one of the benefits we have of doing the Wednesday, Saturday is that we can do a lot of follow-ups, talk to breeders, talk to the people that sold Gamine as a 2-year-old. Joe kind of was at the sale when she sold the first time and talked to the guy. The partners that sold her then caught up with him again 2 days ago. It was pretty cool. So, of course, Tis the Law feature and American Sailor. Totally crazy.
The first stakes win, first Saratoga win for the trainer?
For Wayne Potts, who's come up the hard way, mucking stalls. And in the story, it talked about him getting a job mucking stalls, and then he was promoted to hot walker. And I thought, wow. The hot walker is usually the lowest guy, you would think, but he found a lower rung, and he's come all the way up. I mean, graded stakes at Saratoga, pretty awesome.
You could tell from his comments, he was quite enthusiastic about it, as you could imagine with a guy like that working his way up and getting a graded stakes win. Got it via the DQ, but he said, I'll take it.
Yeah, for sure. Our kind of story. Those are the kind of stories we love to do. Typical meet, we'd be out there in the morning, probably talking to him and getting his whole story. So, but we were able to do it after the fact, which was nice. So there was quite a bit of angles in there. Had one of our writers, Paul Halloran. He's a guy from Boston area that's used to cover racing at Suffolk Downs. Actually found a Suffolk Downs connection. He quite often will uncover these New England connections that he has, and he was a great help for me this weekend. Obviously, as you know, it's a big day, a big weekend, and tough to do it on the ground here by myself with sort of limited staff, and Sean and Joe kind of working remotely from home.
We talk every week also about the handicapping side of things. You can find those selections every day, and you'll want to look, obviously. This is horseracing.com. Also, you type Saratoga Special into Google. You can find it that way. But you and I were comparing notes. I'm thinking I'm having a pretty good season, 64. You're at 64 wins, but your man Shapazian?
71.
Yikes.
Like you said, this is like a career year for me. I mean, knock on wood, we're 64 wins, not quite halfway through. That's pretty good. I remember sort of in the old days, maybe it was more of the 6-week meet or whatever. I would think 100. I was like, if you can get to 100, that's pretty good.
I'm right with you.
Yeah, I was 109 last year. So I'm like, well, that was really good. 64 was pretty solid, but yet we're down 7. Shapazian just clicking right along. He had 8 on Travers Day, and like you said, you had 8 and DQ'd out of Imprimis for 9. 8 is strong. I mean, I had like 5 or 6, and I thought that's pretty good. And then I look at John, and he's just clicking right along.
I'm thinking with the 8-win day, and I thought it was a pretty good week overall. But I am losing ground as Shapazian moves ahead. And again, you can find the selections every day at the website. Obviously, in the digital print version, the PDF version, Wednesdays and Saturdays, but online as well. Well, we kind of alluded to it, but I'd love to have your thoughts on a couple of weekend races. We'll pull up the stretch run to the Travers and Tis the Law. And it just, that day being there and talking to people, down in the winner's circle area and up in the press box area. And then subsequently, I think this was a wow performance. I mean, you get some of these performances during the year from various divisions, but this 3-year-old division, he was already at the head of the class. Hadn't given one of these performances that maybe had people sit back and go, he's the one.
Absolutely. I mean, talk about just galloping away from the field. And Todd Pletcher said it best. I talked to him the next day, and somebody asked him about what he thought of Tis the Law, and he made a comment. He says he's a very hard horse to beat because he just gallops. He's got such a high cruising speed, and then he re-breaks at the end, just like as you saw. I mean, draws away at the end and fast. I mean, 2 minutes and under 2:01, 2 minutes 95. Not many 2:00s on the ledger of Mount of Quarters here at Saratoga. And of course, They've run the Travers for 150 years. They run the Alabama at the mile and a quarter. I used to run a lot of races at that distance way back when. Just truly amazing performance. I called it the best performance of his career. Small sample, I guess, but this is a horse that has won all but one of his starts, and Florida Derby, Champaign, Belmont Stakes, now Travers. Pretty good resume. Hard to find a chink in the armor, to be honest with you. I think a lot's going to be made about how he lost at Churchill Downs, but anybody that has any sense at all would watch that race and see that he just barely lost. It wasn't like he just totally threw in a dismal performance like a Hansel or a Holy Bull or something like that, where he just ran terrible. No, he had an genuine excuse in there. Had some kind of funky trips a little bit, but Manny Franco is in his groove right now and riding this horse very, very well. Sean Clancy actually talked to Manny today for his cup of coffee column. It's just great stuff. Like I didn't do a ton of Manny in my story because I knew Sean was going to talk to him, and just had some great insight into it, and just amazing performance. I mean, like I wrote, it was the one thing that one of many things we're really missing here at Saratoga this year is sort of obviously the fans, but I miss the appreciation that the fans have for the horses when they come back, and that was a performance that just would have gotten I feel chilled right now just sort of talking about it, of what that maybe would have been like. It was kind of cool. There was a group of fans kind of off Nelson Ave, and I was kind of like, all right, I know they're not supposed to be there and whatever, but you know what? It's the Travers, and this is the place where fans appreciate the game, appreciate a great performance like that, and the horse was very deserving of that, and his connections were deserving of that, and even the horses beaten in the field were deserving of it. The up and the third horse ran well, and no shame in getting beat by Tiz the Law, for sure.
Yeah, a performance like that where it's kind of geared down the last 16th of a mile, as you say, you break 201 up here for the mile and a quarter. It doesn't happen very often. He puts himself in rarefied air, a 108 buyer, and you get a mile and a quarter before trying the mile and a quarter in the Derby and validate that that's not going to be a problem, clearly. I mean, he now moves into that Derby in good form, and easy to root for Jack Knowlton and the Saratoga folks, and certainly Barkley Tagg, who a veteran trainer, fun to see him as well. All of that, which maybe overshadows a little another great performance on Saturday. We'll watch the stretch run of the test with Gamine. And again, as I say, Tiz the Law was so eye-popping that this one is maybe getting overlooked a touch, but she was phenomenal as well. I mean, we had two superstar performances on Saturday.
If you count it, she's been now overlooked twice. Belmont Stakes Day, she runs a 132 and change in the Acorn and wins by, a country mile. Here again, and that's Venetian Harbor. That's second. That's a quality filly, real quality. 108 and change. To open up daylight like that, sub 121. As I said, Joe Clancy talked to the guys that sold her as a 2-year-old, $1.8 million in at the Timonium sale last May. Just truly amazing performance. Anxious to see what happens next with her. I think they've mentioned the Kentucky Oaks, which it could be quite a race. If she went 2 turns before, a little bit tested by a nice filly that Mike McCarthy has, Speech, who's come back and run well. And the 3-year-old filly division is pretty strong as well. This year.
And we'll see more of them coming up on Saturday in the Alabama, and that Swiss Skydivers scheduled there, right?
Saturday? Absolutely. Yeah. That's what Kenny McPeak is here and she's here. She's nice. You think about what she's done, coast to coast, shipping, should have no problem. Mile and a quarter in the Alabama. Good test for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see how that 3-year-old division 3-year-old filly division does shake out, because again, with those horses, as you mentioned, Speech, Swiss Skydiver, now Gamine, and if all of them show up in the Kentucky Oaks, it's going to be that'll be a fun Friday leading into the Saturday. First Saturday in September, as it were, Kentucky Derby. All right, let's get some thoughts, because again, every Wednesday when we have you in here, we talk a little bit on the jump side of things, and a couple of intriguing jump races this week. Tomorrow we have was rescheduled from last week due to weather, but today it's allowance non-winners of 2 lifetime runners, and I am going to pull up the Middleburg race from June 13th, and we're going to look at Zoom Zoom Zoe for my man Jonathan Shepard. And when we pick it up, Zoom Zoom Zoe will be way back. It's hard to believe Lear Avia loses this. I mean, earlier she was ahead by probably about 30, but here she's ahead by still a pretty good margin. But as we see him come down the stretch, Zoom Zoom Zoe will reel in the leader and win off by 5. And off of that one, and on the jump side of things with a feathery 140 on board, I'm going to go with Zoom Zoom Zoe this afternoon. What are your thoughts in the opener?
Well, it's certainly thin light. I mean, this is a filly going against the boys in here, so maybe she, like you said, she does get in a little bit light, and just a truly amazing performance. Maybe the leader, fell apart here at the end of the race, for sure. A little bit, yeah. I think that the chart lines are pretty funny to read. Now, if you look at this course, this is a much different setup than they're going to have here. However, I mean, you're talking about long gaps in between jumps here, which is what we also have here at Saratoga. We run, there's a jump on the backstretch the last time around, and then a good half mile to the finish. Yeah. So you want to sort of look at horses maybe that have good flat form, and really factor that into your handicapping. So Zoom Zoom Zoe certainly 1 for 1, hard to knock her in there. For the jumps, for me though, so far I got to start with Jack Fisher.
Sure.
He's won, obviously, the 3 jump races that we've run so far. We should have had 4. We had to reschedule one. That's tomorrow, the handicap race that goes tomorrow, rescheduled with the same field. Jack brings Brian Bakes Cookies in here. It's kind of a odd name for a horse, but, hey, whatever. This is a horse that ran on the story. Yeah.
If the horse wins, that can be in the paper. You can look at You can get the story behind.
Got to get the name right. Yeah, for sure. Horse ran for like Michelle Nevin, Des Farrow, Christophe Clement, John Toscano, Linda Rice. Ran on the flat up here. Actually ran a couple of years ago on the flat. Ran in a maiden race against Patterson Cross and Bala Rocks, 2 horses that end up being pretty useful grass horses for Bill Mott. Of course, that was way back in 2016, but he's got some decent flat form, and he comes out of a pretty good race. He ran the Galway Kid, who I feel like we've been mentioning a lot, in the run up in these races. I mean, we've been talking about him a lot. I hope he pans out and does pretty good. He's kind of a horse I've been using in my handicapping a lot, but Jack likes him. And he liked that first race too. Jack's other horse in here, he's got the 6 Prayer Hope. He's a horse that he really thought he would win that flat race. He comes out of a flat race at Laurel. He was 6 to 5. Yeah, he ran off in the race though, and Jack was like, "I don't really know where that came from." He completely ran off. He says he doesn't do any of that at home. I don't really know where that came from. He says he probably fixed him up and hopefully get him to settle a little bit more in here. He's kind of like Fast Car, the horse that Jack has that was a very expensive yearling that's transitioned into a steeplechase career. He was actually a $700,000 yearling at one time. So Jack typically has a lot of horses like this. He's not my second pick. I actually picked Anticipating in here. He's another horse that was a little bit sharp in his first race here. He led on the 29th, which is also how he won his only jump race, kind of up close and in it. I did like the fact that he was there. He was still there at the end. Like everybody that was kind of close to the pace with him, Whitman's Poetry, a few other horses, I mean, they totally dropped out the back. This horse showed some good fortitude to hang in there for second behind Fast Car, who was just very impressive. Now, Global Freedom he was third, excuse me. Global Freedom was in the race. He was second in that race and ran really well. He's in here too, coupled with Marcon. He's kind of that entry's probably going to end up being the favorite in here, which I totally have left off my super.
I left him off too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a fairly contentious race. I have the 2 you mentioned, Brian Baked Cookie and Anticipating, right underneath. I did not use Prayer or Hope, but the 1 jump race is very good. And it is kind of interesting that, went off as the favorite in the flat race a few weeks ago down at Laurel. I think it's a fun race this afternoon.
Yeah. Plus he gets Mikey Mitchell. That's Jack's kind of go-to guy. Another horse to look at, I think, is Fearsome. He's a horse that has good flat form as well. Ran second in the Valedictory, which is
I put that one down in the 4th spot. And when we talked about that on the handicapping show this morning, I said, I might regret that because, comes out of a couple of flat stakes races, which I find kind of intriguing.
Absolutely. And Cyril Murphy, Irv Naylor, they kind of team up. They've done well over the years with horses like this that they've shopped around and bought. and transition to jumpers. I mean, Cyril does an amazing job. Typically in the spring, you'll see Cyril and Irv Naylor winning lots of races throughout the season. Obviously, abbreviated, adjuncated season.
Yeah, isn't Irv typically like the leading owner?
He's been leading owner many, many times over the years. Yes, and it's funny that Jack Fisher's like unstoppable here. There's been six other jump races since we started ours here at Colonial Downs. Jack hasn't won any of them. Shepard's won a couple. Shepard's won 3 of them. Jack had horses in 4 of the 6. Now these are maidens, and for fillies and mares, they also ran some straight maiden special weights. So the races here are maybe a little bit higher class. So Jack typically has horses that fit Saratoga a little bit better maybe than some of the maidens.
Let's turn to tomorrow, which, again, I think today's race is a lot of fun. Tomorrow's race is just weird because you look at the PPs, it is a 9-horse field with an entry, so 8 separate betting interests, but 9 horses.
Yeah.
5 of the 9 were pulled up last time. 3 more were beaten by 12, 16, and 30 lengths. That leaves 1 other horse who won his last race.
Yeah.
I had to go with Elucidation off the win, and we're going to pull up the replay there, going back to Great Meadow down in Virginia on June 27th. We will watch Elucidation get it done pretty nicely in there. Was in with that feathery 140. That was a bonus. But the 148 today, I don't think is a big ask. So watch late and look for the Green Silks to be making the late move as we get closer to the finish line for Irv Naylor. But I put Elucidation on top, just again in a field where there is some back class. But boy, the last races from everybody else leaves a little bit to be desired. So just coming up with the exact is going to be tough for me.
Yeah, certainly a lot of questions in this one. This was the rescheduled race from last week. Same exact field. When I remember when the entries came out, I started looking at it and I thought to myself, this is a different group, but it's not.
I love this drone shot.
Isn't this great? This drone stuff has been amazing.
Yeah, it is.
From what I understand, and I'm not sure that I should reveal this, but just because I don't want to make somebody look bad, but apparently at one of the meets they had a crash with the drone.
Well, that would be the reason that you don't see it as much as you would like to.
But what a great addition to sport. I mean, I was watching those races at home and I was like, this really, I got to have this, right? I mean, as you can see in those meets, they're not really at the racetrack type setting. So you might have an accident with the drone. You might have it here with the trees that we have out in the infield, but if they got close enough, I mean, that drone can get pretty high.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. But I went with, again, I'm broken record here. Maybe I lean toward New Member, which is Jack Fisher's horse. Didn't finish in his last race, pulled up, but his form is good. His form is good here at Saratoga. He hadn't run. He hadn't run in a while, in almost 2 years. I'm confident that Jack wouldn't be running him here if he didn't feel like he was fit and ready for this spot. Mikey Mitchell is his main man. Iranistan is also in here. He's a horse for Jonathan Shepard that they had high hopes on, and he ran very, very well early on in his jumping career. It's kind of tailed off a little bit lately, but I'm willing to give him another shot. He's another one when a lot of them trailed and pulled up. So I mean, a lot of them have been that. So you got to kind of lean towards maybe which ones had done something before. And a little bit of a price actually picked like Show Court. He's a horse that's run well fresh, run well off the layoff, and run well here at Saratoga for Arch Kingsley. He won the Kaiser a couple years ago and off the bench and ran very, very well with that flat form setup. He's a horse that he's been running a long, long time. He's run 45 times, but he's coming off the layoff, hadn't run since last November. So it could be a price too.
Arch, a former jump jockey himself.
That's right.
Tom, as always, appreciate the visit. Again, we'll tell people to visit thisishorseracing.com to get the latest edition of the Saratoga special. Again, digital edition now coming out Wednesdays and Saturdays with a lot of great Saratoga info as usual. Appreciate the visit. We'll talk again.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. See you soon.
Happy to do it. Tom Law from the Saratoga special. We will take a break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by Ken Weingartner from the USTA, United States Trotting Association. We'll do a little Hambo recap and more on the sulky side right after this. Stay tuned.
Nice. A little Hambo, huh?
Hambo.
I like it.
Philly beat the boys.
Is that a tape?
No, I got him Zoom.
Oh, okay, cool. The owners, they're the people that had Chancelot, right?
The owners of the Hambo winner?
I think so.
Oh, really?
Crawford, is
Oh.
that their name?
Yeah. Crawford Farms. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a husband and wife.
Oh,
pretty,
cool.
pretty woman.
Oh,
Dark hair.
nice.
She, yeah, they had that horse Chancelot. They own that horse in partnership, I think. But
Yeah. This horse they do. It says Grant Crawford.
they were
And
super
like two others.
not happy about the whole Navarro situation.
Oh, well.
You know?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's like, didn't you know that going
Yeah.
in?
Yeah. All of the people who use it's like,
Michael Dubb, no
Yeah.
offense, but
yeah.
you didn't think Jason Service was
Yeah.
bad? Hope I'm not on the air saying that. All right, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it as always.
Yeah. Let me know when you need my girl. I'll get her on.
Yeah. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Definitely. No
Sounds
problem.
good.
Yeah.
She's game.
Yeah.